Yes, Danapriya. I think I've met Danapriya for the first time, if I am correct. Well, a bit strangely maybe, but in a women's retreat center at Taraloka, when we were there together on a chairs meeting. He was the then chair of Deal, and I was chair of Ghent. And immediately I felt very at ease with him because, well, Danapriya is such a person whom one is very easily at ease with. He is, I think that's a very great quality of him, that he makes people feel very at ease, because also he is very present with another human being. He is very present. He is very mindful. He's a good listener, but he's just there. He is not out there. He's just there. And I have always sensed that, and it is in a very uncomplicated way. That's my experience, at least, in a very uncomplicated way. And I also very much love in Danapriya, what you see is what you get. And I do appreciate that a lot. And he's a very lovely man to have in the house as a guest. He was here in 2019, and he will always be associated for me personally with the death of my father, because in that period he was there with us, staying with Kalyana Gita and me. And on the day that my father died, Kalyana Gita and Danapriya drove me to the hospital in Roeselare. And he was such a support. He really, just by being himself, just by being there, just by being present, and it was so, not only that, day afterwards as well. And that's something that is, I would say, it's typical for him. Being with people in a very present way, just being a lovely friend. And I always also love and enjoy the spoken messages that he is sending from now, or from time to time, via or via WhatsApp. So I would say, if you have the chance to get to know him better, well, do that, because he's lovely. He's really lovely. And and you will notice that step by step maybe, but he is a wise man as well. So here he is, Danapriya, and I am very interested and curious in what he will have to say, because I saw the movie with Helen from Windhorse Publications, and that was really a trigger. I mean, talking about abundance and love and writing about that, it's very worthwhile. So over to you, Danapriya. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Arthur Kuslin. Well, hello, everybody. Lovely to be here with you all. I just love this Zoom thing. So it can go anywhere. It's great. This is my actually 32nd book launch, and I've been all over the world so far. It's really great just joining all, with you as a lovely Sangha, and they're just everywhere. It's great. So yes, so I'm going to give a talk, be about 30 minutes. And whilst I'm talking, do note down anything that you feel is relevant to you in your life. Something that, oh yes, so it's something that I'd like to think about more or act upon or whatever. And there will be things. And then, you can take them to, we'll have some, we'll see how the time goes, but we'll either have breakout groups and Q&A, or we'll have Q&A, so we'll see. But you can bring those things to that time after the talk. So are you ready? Are you sitting comfortably? Hopefully my English is fine, and hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. I'm sorry I can't speak your language. So yes, the talk I've called, it is called Actions Have Consequences. And we're all old enough, aren't we, to know that actions do have consequences. and they have their consequence on us and others around us and the world, actually. All our actions have a real ripple on the world. And when I started to put this talk together, I was sort of thinking, well, where do actions come from? Well, where do actions come from? How do they get created? And I think it comes from our views, just our views on life, sort of our overall sort of ethical perspective on life. And all this sort of comes from what we've learned so far on this journey, sort of our broad education. I think our education starts when we're born, actually starts with our birth. Actually, our birth has quite a profound effect on us, not that we know much about it at the time. And then how our caregivers are in those early years particularly, but probably mostly through our life as well, but how our caregivers are and take care of us. And I think in those early years, I mean, my first memory is when I'm 4 years old. I don't know when yours is, but there's a lot happening between then and 4. I'm being taken care of, and it just depends how they were. And I think it goes in through sort of osmosis at quite a deep emotional level. And then I don't know if you, like me, have got siblings, got brothers and sisters. I've got an older brother and a younger sister. And well, I don't know what spirit got zapped into them, but it was very different from me, because we're very different from each other. We might look alike, because we do look alike, but actually we're very different. Of course, I was learning things from them as well. That was forming views on the world. So we are all creating our choices and our actions, and from what's gone before, and these are having consequences on ourselves and others and the world. So we go at life with these views from others, well, from our social education as well, and our school education, and our role models such as teachers and grandparents and friends, and the surrounding culture. Your surrounding culture is quite a profound one, depends where we were born and what country or wherever, and it really does affect us quite strongly. And so, if you're anything like me, you went at life making choices, therefore creating actions which had consequences based on views that were never mine. They weren't mine. Because actually for me, it wasn't until I got to 30 years old that I was stopped by quite a serious health situation and woke up to the thoughts that I'd never actually asked myself questions like, who am I? What do I think? What are my views? It's like, and what consequences am I having on the world? I don't know where I was, but it's sort of like, I think what I was doing was probably trying to people please or get approval or do what my parents thought I should, or peers and all that sort of pressure. I'd never really just gone, well, what do I want? What do I think? It's interesting when you think about it, but I don't think I'm unusual. So my illness sort of stopped me, and I had to look inside. I had to feel and listen to my own being, really. I think I basically realized that I'd taken on blindly other people's emotional worldviews and sort of gone at life without checking in deeply with my own sort of inner nature, my own unique voice. This spirit, whatever got zapped in here, what's it here for this lifetime? What am I here for? I like to think of this being as a work of art. I think we're all a work of art, and we're creating it. In every moment, we're creating our being. And what sort of work of art are we? And are we becoming? I can become, more and more beautiful with, saying lots of lovely, kind, generous words and leaving a beautiful perfume in my wake. or I can be angry and harsh and shout at people. It's sort of like, and that's just with words, and there's so many ways that we are creating our own work of art, and we're all a unique, wonderful work of art, actually. So I became unwell by following others' perceptions of how things are, of how other people thought I should be. And as we know, most humans are driven by the three poisons. So I was sort of following people who were, going after sort of greed. Get more, I'll be happy. Push that away. I don't, I'll be happy. So there's a hatred and aversion, and all through ignorance. But slowly, luckily, I learned that it was generosity, love, wisdom, which creates a beautiful life existence. And I imagine, well, your life will have resonances with what I'm just about to talk about. So taking actions at times, and then suffering the consequences, and seeing little insights that action actually didn't bring me happiness or contentment. Often it brought the opposite. And sometimes, even though we see that many times, we can keep doing the same thing again. It's called habit. we do things, yes, which will get highlighted a bit further down the talk. But this bit, well, you may have had this when you're young or even a bit older, who knows. So like, I used to go out with my mates when I was young, and we'd have a few to drink, and then I'd have a few more, and then I'd get drunk. And then the next morning, I'd feel deathly. And what do you say? Never again, never again. And a few months later, there I am. The mates say, go on, don't be silly, have another, whatever. And there I am, trip myself again, and I feel dreadful. Well, fortunately for me, that I actually stopped drinking alcohol when I was 20. So actually I did learn that one quite young. But this is about, I think, because we haven't yet built up our own core sense of self-worth, our self-love. Actually, what's the best I can do for myself? And obviously getting drunk isn't the best. It's not really very loving, is it? But I think this comes out in lots of ways. And I think, actually, I think the biggest poison humans have to deal with is lack of self-worth, is that we don't really know how amazing we are. And this is why we need metta. This is why we need metta bhavana, focus on loving kindness, putting all those drops in. And then there's the aspect of, well, I sort of think there's lots of different characters in here, depends which character's on duty as to what's happening, So there's a character on duty today, right, I'm on a diet for a particular health reason, and this is what I'm going to have, and that'll be really good for me. And I've got goodwill, and that's what's happening. And then I have a dodgy night's sleep. And we all know what a dodgy night's sleep does. The next day, you don't feel quite, you're dragging yourself through the day a bit, and mind's not quite so bright, and a different character's on duty, and there you are, lunchtime, having a cream and jam donut. Thinking, how did that happen? That's not what I was going to do. So it's like, it's like all these different characters, like, this is integration, isn't it? This is awareness and mindfulness. This is getting to know our inner workings and the forces, and so like we're looking, because of course, as you know, when you start to meditate, you don't have a quiet mind, do you? Well, even later on, you don't necessarily have a quiet mind, but we're getting to know our minds, we're getting to know ourselves, and this is sort of integration, isn't it? And which so we need both of those. So at some point, for you to be listening to me right now, you've been stopped by sort of creating your own suffering, or suffering's happened to you, and you've had to stop and look inside and feel, and sort of look at how you're creating your life. Well, that's what happened to me. And over the next sort of 25 years, I've learned a lot about how to live a better life. And I've put lots of it in here. So there's 25 chapters in here. And I'm just going to share with you a little bit from 6 of those 25 chapters. So there's obviously a chapter in there called it's not out there, chapter 4. And well, when I say it's not out there, it's here, it's here, it's in my heart, it's in my being. And if I work from here, then out there gets amazing. It's not that we can't enjoy everything out there, it's just that we need to work in here first and see that that's how we get a beautiful life, not trying to get the nicest partner or the nicest house or the best job or whatever it is. It's not that we can't have those, but it's coming from the healthiest, most beautiful place in here. And we always must be sure to remember that I'm doing my creating of my life and you're doing yours. And there's no one to blame. And this is one of the great things about Buddhism, is that the Buddha says that you have to take full responsibility for your life. You have to take the full reins, because I can be lovely to you, I can be miserable. It's all me. It's a choice in every moment, isn't it? What we're thinking, what we're dwelling on. Yes, so the Buddha says we have to take full responsibility, or else we just create more suffering. We're adding the second dart, aren't we? So it's always thinking, who's creating your life? Who is acting? Who is speaking? Who is choosing your thoughts? Well, I'm doing mine, so probably you're doing yours. Chapter 2 is called It's Never Not Now. It's never not now, is it? It's never ever not now. Our life is just made up of billions of nows, and hopefully there's going to be a few more. But most people miss most of their lives because they're not present. They're not in the moment. And it's only now that we get all the information from all our senses that the world's providing. And then we can make the wisest, clearest choices. But so often we're in this thing that mind's in the past, in memory. And I don't know about you, but can you maybe remember just before you joined this class tonight? Well, you probably remember what you're doing, but it's a bit vague. It's not as clear and as bright as now is it? And we say we don't quite remember it as clearly as it was. And often we're sort of wishing we'd done things differently, or just sort of like we can be carrying pain from the past that we haven't quite put down. So there's all this can be going on. And of course we need to learn from the past. That's really helpful, but we don't have to carry it around with us, weigh us down. Or we're in the future, the mind-made soap opera of the future, because everything we're thinking about the future is a story. It's not real, is it? It's just not there. But often we can riddle the future with fear and anxiety, actually, particularly, at the moment with, it's an unusual world we're in, isn't it? And actually, all that fear and anxiety just ruins our nows. And actually, all we've ever got is now. So let's make the most of it, And it's really important to sort of see that and try and live from the moment as much as possible. Yes, so again, that's the best place we can make the wisest choices. So you are absolutely stuffed full of love. Okay, you're stuffed full of love. Where else can it be? Is it up on a shelf, or has somebody else got yours? Nobody's got any more or any less than anybody else. It's whether you let it live. I can be really loving to you, can't I? Or not. It's a choice. It's just, how do you want to be? So we had our first lockdown last March, my God, nearly a year ago, and we're still in another one now. And I just decided, as I go for my daily walk, exercise or run or whatever, and, I acknowledge everybody, I sort of smile or good morning or good afternoon, whatever. And actually, it's so much more friendly when I do that. Not everybody responds, that's fine. It's the way it is, but that's all right. That's their choice. but I can let it live, and it just enhances my life. And I imagine it helps, it brightens up our day, even just a smile. You know, it's not a lot, it doesn't have to be a lot, you know. But again, it's doing away with the fear and anxiety. We don't need it, because actually, yes, that's one thing I was going to say about when talking about, you know, the future, is that I think we just need to trust ourselves, because we've always coped. However bad it's been in the past, you know, or however wonderful or whatever, we've coped, haven't we? So I think if we trust ourselves, we don't have to fear and worry so much, because we'll cope. You know, whatever happens, we'll cope, which is interesting. Anyway, yeah, not only love are we stuffed full of, you're stuffed full of kindness and courage and confidence and patience. Like the Buddha says, we've got every quality in us. It's just whether you want to let it live, let it flow out in your life. So chapter 16 is called Let Your Love Live. So I talk about that and a lot more in that chapter. I want to point out something at this point, which I think is, well, it's sort of stating the obvious, but actually I hardly ever hear it said in relation to the talk, actions have consequences, when I've heard talks on this before, is that not acting has consequences. Non-actions have consequences. And that's fine. In a way, sometimes it's good not to act. It's not that one's bad and one's not, you know, it's just there is the two sides. And chapter 6 is called I Can't Change. I can't change. You know, have you heard people say that? Have you said that? I certainly heard it in our Sangha last March, when we went from live classes to Zoom. I can't learn Zoom. I can't do that, you know. And of course, and some haven't. Well, that's a real shame. But the ones who have, well, it's been wonderful. You know, it's opened up a whole world. You know, I live on my own, and I've had more communication than ever since all this, you know, and it's enabled something that's quite amazing. It's taken geography away. So, you know, it is that it's not that we can't change. You know, in fact, we are change. You know, we are process. We're born, and you know, we're going to die one day. You know, and bits of my hair are dropping off now. You know, it's sort of like, it's just, we're process, isn't it? I had dinner tonight. Well, it will come out another day. You know, it's sort of like, it's just how it is. And so the question is, how do you want to change? It's like taking the reins of your life again. How do you want to change? And I think I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know. It's just that we need reminding, and actually we need to really take these simple things quite seriously, because I can learn a new language. Well, I never thought I could write a book. I thought, oh my God, I could never write a book. It's not for me, you know. And you know, there's a book. my preceptor, Ratnagesha, said to me when I was sort of thinking about what to do in this little phase, and I said, well, I got a lot I want to say. And he said, well, somebody is saying about, I said to him, oh yes, somebody's saying about why didn't I write a book? And I said, a book feels too grand for me. Really, Ratnagesha said, just write a page. Don't think about writing a book. You know, it feels too much. So actually the next day I just sat down and started to write a page. And the first chapter came out within an hour. So you don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't think I could start a Buddhist group. When I moved from the London Buddhist Centre to Deal for a rest, I just came down here for a rest to the seaside. I needed a break after slightly overdoing it at the London Buddhist Centre, taking on too much. And after a while, I needed Sangha, and there wasn't anything down here. So I'd either got to move or start something. And I started that, but I can't believe that actually I did that, you know. So we can change, we can always do new things. It's wonderful, you know. We got this being, haven't we, you know, that we're creating. And however old or whatever state of life we're in, we can create something more and anew. In any moment we can go, we can change, you know, I can dance, you know, it's just a choice, isn't it? So the next chapter I want to talk about, chapter 17, quite a lot of people have been writing to me about the book after they've read it. And this chapter often is the one that gets commented on the most. They really like the chapter, but they say it's probably the most difficult to bring into their life. And it's called Discipline is Enjoyable. Discipline is enjoyable. Now, would you put those words together very often? But I'm talking about a very kind discipline. Now, you know this because if you've obviously learned to meditate, trying to get a meditation practice going at home every day, well, you need a bit of discipline, don't you? To get it going. And I know, when I did get it going and I do meditate every day, life is more enjoyable. It's quite simple, really, but it's a kind, it's a supportive discipline. And so like Bhante Sangharajita says, routine gives strength. And I think that's another good thing too. Actually doing something regularly, routine, really helps something. So there's lots of things I cover in this chapter, but there's just 3 I'm going to share with you now. And I think they're absolutely fundamental for living a really good life. It doesn't matter what sort of life you're living, of what walk, it does not matter. But it's sleep, diet, and exercise. And I think sometimes we don't take these seriously enough. I know I didn't up until I was 30, whilst I don't think I've become so ill. But anyway, so I had space to look at these 3 things. Now for me, sleep, I sort of had this spell where I didn't have anything particularly I had to do. So I just thought, I'm going to ask this body, when do you like to sleep? Don't worry about a clock. And my body likes to go to bed at 9 and it wakes up at 4:52, bright as a button. And that's what it likes. I don't need an alarm clock. Okay. So, and what happens is, I also found out, somebody told me that if I get up within 2 or 3 minutes of waking, I'll be bright for the day, physically and mentally. And that's true. If I lie in, sometimes I think, oh, I just have another half hour. And then wake up half an hour later, I'm boggy. My head's a bit boggier, my body's a bit boggier. So that's what I do. I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 4:50, well, about 2 or 3 minutes after 4:52. And then I'm bright for the day. And of course, it'd be different for each person. It's asking your body what it likes. But I know if I sleep well, my word, the rest of my life is good. Because if any of you have insomnia, or you have times where you haven't slept well, it really affects everything. Well, that's my experience. And then diet. Well, I don't like the word diet because, well, we're all on a diet, aren't we? We're on a diet of food and drink. It's just whether it's helpful to this body. And each of us are unique. I don't think we should look at any diet or listen to anybody. It's just ask this body. So again, I sort of have asked this body what it likes. And for me, this body does not function well on wheat and sugar and dairy and chili and bananas. That's just a few things. And when I don't have those, I function really well, And of course, every now and again, I'll go to somebody's house and they've made me some sort of nice cake with sugar and wheat and everything, and I'll have it because it's the kindest thing. They've gone out of their way to do it for me. But I'll know it the next day, So it's looking at really taking that seriously. And I know it makes a huge difference to how I feel. And actually, I'm 61 now, and I feel as healthy as ever probably in my life. And I sometimes say, well, I might die today, but I'm going to die healthy, thank you very much. It's sort of like, it's just using these, well, 2 things so far. The third one, exercise. Well, exercise, actually, I didn't do a lot of exercises up until about 8 years ago. Sort of got away with it a bit. But I thought about 8 years ago, I thought, no, I really want to do some stuff for my lungs and heart and, yes, for longevity. And so I was watching some YouTube clips on different things, and it just been the London Marathon. And I was watching these clips, they were interviewing the oldest guy who just run the London Marathon. He just completed his 23rd consecutive London Marathon, and he was 86. And then they interviewed the oldest woman, who was 83 and just completed her 18th consecutive London Marathon. I thought, oh, blimey, Danapriya, well, if they can do that, I can trot along the seafront for a few kilometers, So I started, and actually I really got to enjoy it. The freedom of going out. Unfortunately, I got the sea one way, countryside the other, and just sort of like out there. I don't want to listen to Walkmans or anything like that either. I'm just me and nature. Thank you very much. No distraction. And I really enjoy it. And I do it 3 times a week. I only do about 4 or 5 kilometers. That's plenty. Thank you very much. And it's great. But almost every day I go to do it, just before I go out the door, I resist it. I think, oh, well, at the moment we've got snow and ice, but I sort of think, oh, it's a bit cold. Or it's like there's just a little resistance, It's sort of interesting what's good for us. And even what we enjoy, we can resist a little. So that's when we need a little bit of discipline. And then I get out there and I'm really glad I've done it, And I lived Mitra study for 7 years. And it's almost that every Thursday would come after dinner, just before the class, like, oh God, do I want to do this, And then I'd do it. And I'd really enjoy it and energized and love it. But every Thursday. So it's like, this is why we need a bit of discipline. I know I enjoy it, but somehow I've got no answer to why that is. It's just, it just is. So I talk about a lot more in this chapter. Discipline is enjoyable. So you all still with me? Nobody nodded off? No? Okay, so I'm just going to talk about one more chapter. And that's what we dwell on, we become. Chapter 7. This is what we dwell on, we become. So not complicated, is it? So yeah, it's sort of like how much news you've been watching through this last, pandemic situation and Trump drama and what, how much do you really need to take in? We need to know what to do to keep ourselves safe and others safe and what restrictions we're in right now. But apart from that, I didn't watch news for over 20 years before the beginning of our lockdown here last March, when I thought, actually, I do need to know some basics now. So I started to just ask my phone to play the latest news, and it plays 2.5 minutes of the latest news each morning, and that's what I get, and that's enough. Well, sometimes it's too much, but it tells me what to do to look after everybody and myself. So it's what we take in and all that stuff is so, well, as I'm sure you know, not helpful. And what books do you read? What we take in. Who do we mix with? Are the people helping us become who we want to become? Are we helping them? And what movies do you watch? I haven't watched a horror movie with any blood or anything in it for years. It's just not going to help me. Actually, I have got one addiction which I will share with you. Actually, I do love romantic movies. I probably watch one every other day almost, but I'm hoping it helps me become more loving. So it's sort of, it's just, we're all making choices, aren't we? With whatever it is, but it's taking it seriously. What are we dwelling on? What are we watching on YouTube? Or what are we, are we really flicking through Facebook again? Or whatever it is you might have habits of doing. Yes, so that's just some chapters. So now we're nearly there. So actions. Well, you could buy my book. It's not out there. You might have already got it. If you have, thank you. Then read it, because that's another very helpful thing. And there's an ebook as well. And well, you could buy it from your local bookshop if they're open or when they're open, or you could get it from Windhorse Publications, the Triratna Buddhist publishers, or you could get it from Amazon or someone like that. Yes, so do you want to help your local bookshop? Do you like having a local bookshop to go and potter in and look around, because they're disappearing. I'm sure they are in Belgium as well. They certainly are here. They're just disappearing, and it'd be good if you want to support it. Or you might like to buy it from Windhorse Publications to support our, Triratna Buddhist publisher. They really need all the help they can get, and actually they make more money out of it if you do buy it from them, because they're a small publisher. Actually, my book is a first for them, because although every word in my book is Buddhist, it's actually aimed at anybody from any walk of life, of any religion. That's why there's no Pali words in it. There's no strange language. Well, actually, there is one. It's got my name on the front. That's the only dodgy word. But the rest of it is totally accessible. Well, it's English, but yes. And so they want to reach a bigger market, basically. And it certainly is reaching a bigger market. I had an email from them yesterday telling me that it's their biggest seller of all their books they've got by a long way. And it came out last October, and they've already just had another 2,000 printed. So it's doing really, really well, and particularly in America and Canada as well. So you might want to buy it there. Or of course, you could, if you want to help a huge greedy corporation get bigger and bigger and risk lots of more small businesses going out of business, and you could buy it from Amazon, of course. It's a choice, isn't it? But our actions have their effect. They have their effect on the world, on others, and you. And of course, this is true of everything, isn't it? It's who we get our electricity from, or gas, or, do we use renewable suppliers, or all that sort of thing. You're Buddhist. You've learned that one by now. So yeah, what choice we make has its effect. Now, if you do buy my book and you do read it, do let me know what you think. Do drop me a line. I've got a website, danapriya.org. O-R-G. You can just send a message and tell me, because yeah, I'd be really, really pleased to know. So what happened for me was, so I was 60 nearly 2 years ago now, and I'd stepped down from being chair at the Deal Buddhist group, and I thought to myself, okay, so what's the next decade about? Hopefully I've got another decade, we don't know that, but what do I want to make of this next 10 years? Now, I came up with this phrase, I want to share what I've been given. And I feel so, so grateful. I've been given to by so many people, by so many wise teachers, so many kind people. I've been on so many retreats that have been led by all these different sort of teachers and just friends and peers and one-to-ones and just, yeah, been given to by lots of books and, free Buddhist audio or whatever it is, And in a way, the book is part of me sharing, it's sharing what I've been given. And, we are amazing. We are all amazing. We have all the qualities we need to see differently and live an extraordinary, ordinary life. And I really hope this book's helping our human predicament, and I hope it's helping us going to have more amazingly positive actions, so we can, make more positive actions that will have really effective consequences on the world. So that's what I wanted to share with you all.